Hey everybody, Ben Frederickson here alongside Stu Durando for another episode of the Billikens Beat, our weekly video feature on St. Louis Billikens basketball. Stu, we got a big SLU basketball win since the last time we talked here. SLU welcomes LSU into town for what they call the Billikens Classic, which was more or less kind of a put together event in order to make up for a tournament, an event that fell through. But the Billikens got from it exactly what they hoped to get, a win over an LSU team that was ranked third in the SEC by the SEC media, a team that brought in a couple of all-SEC guards. SLU was down Hasan French, found a way to play a really good game, gets an 85-81 win that should be really helpful come NCAA tournament time on that resume. What'd you make of the win? Also, just what you've heard from the Billikens before and after that win, as it kind of seemed like they were saying, hey, this is what we expected to do.
Yeah, I mean, the opening week went pretty much as good as they could have expected under the circumstances. They took care of Edwardsville with ease. And then, and they sometimes have trouble with those games early in the season against some of those opponents in the last few years. And then the LSU game, starting without two guys who are in your top six, including Hasan French, looked problematic against a really individually talented LSU team. But they played as well as you could play under the circumstances. I mean, they made the adjustments and made shots. They had huge individual performances to match LSU's individual performances and escaped with free throw shooting of all things down the stretch.
Yeah.
And now they lead the A-10 in free throw shooting. So, yeah, I think they're they're not riding high. They thought they should win that game, and they did. And now they're just looking forward to the next stretch of home games.
A remarkable performance by Javonte Perkins, who really, I think, stepped up and showed that he can be that scorer that Travis tells him he can be. It's kind of funny to have a guy who can score 30-plus points in a game, and the coach talks about having to, encourage him to shoot. Usually you're telling those guys to stop shooting sometimes, but Javonte, they're telling, hey, go find a way to score, and he did that. But also, too, how about the play of guys like Martin Linson and Jimmy Bell Jr. who step up, in big role positions for the Billikens on a night where they're without Hasan French?
Yeah, they needed those guys to step up, and Linson in the first game against Edwardsville was really strong, and he and Bell held their own against LSU, and Demarius Jacobs has been really good off the bench. I think it's gone a little unnoticed with his rebounding and scoring. He was a starter last year, so they need those guys. And now they'll have Fred Thatch thrown into that batch as a reserve. So as somebody said on Twitter when I posted that they were going to be back, the rich get richer. The SLU has a lot of individual talent now. They're just adding to it for the next stretch of games.
You mentioned Thatch, who has missed the first two games along with French. What's the latest on those guys? It sounds like French definitely back. Maybe not so certain on Thatch, but where does that stay entering Saturday's game against Arkansas Pine Bluff?
So Hasan's practiced the last few days full go. Travis turned him 100%. He looks fine that I saw. So he'll be in. I'm guessing that Thatch will go because he went a full practice yesterday that I saw, and he looked fine, in terms of his knee. He wasn't limping or, favoring it at all. So unless they just want to give him another game to rest, I think he'll be in. So it'll be interesting whether it's Saturday or the game after that to finally see this team at full strength.
Saturday, it's Arkansas Pine Bluff, and a series of games after that without really a marquee non-conference game until the Billikens are supposed to go to Minnesota December 20th. That game's still on the schedule. Everything is in pencil right now with COVID. But Travis is talking about trying to come up with maybe another big non-conference game as this scheduling is going crazy across college basketball. Where does that stand as the Billikens maybe look for another LSU Minnesota type game to add to their schedule before conference play starts?
Yeah, he doesn't want to just add any team, and it doesn't really look on the schedule like there's room to add someone, but he says things can be worked so that it can happen, especially as he termed it, if they can get a top 10 or a top 15 team. I don't know if they've really got that targeted and they're talking to specific teams about being able to play or what, but he wants to get another very strong game, just not necessarily for the resume, but to give his team a look at another really strong opponent before they go into the A-10, which is looking pretty good in the upper half.
We've all kicked the can and pushed for Mizzou SLU. I don't think it's going to happen this
Not
year.
going to happen.
But,
Not this
maybe
year, probably not next year.
maybe one of these days. But it would be good to see SLU pick up another game. Keep tuned to stltoday.com. Follow Stu on Twitter for the latest on SLU basketball. He'll have the game covered Saturday. Well, it'll be in Sunday's Post-Dispatch and online. And we'll keep doing this every week, a weekly Billikens Beat video feature. For Stu, I'm Ben. We will see you next week.